A man saw a lost foal on the road, whose mother was nowhere in sight. He realized that he had to help the unfortunate little one. Then something incredible happened. This story began in the vast meadows where a small herd of horses grazed. Among the animals stood out a beautiful horse named Alice, who had recently given birth to her first foal, peacefully nibbling grass next to her mother. It was after lunch when the herd decided to move to a distance where there was more fresh grass. However, the animals did not know that several hungry coyotes were watching them from the nearby forest. Usually, coyotes do not attack an entire herd of horses for fear of facing serious resistance from the adults. Predators wait for a young or weak individual to stray from the herd to feast on an easy, appetizing prey. That is exactly what happened this time. Alice's foal fell a bit behind the herd, and the coyotes immediately sprang into action. The frightened foal ran as fast as it could. Alice noticed the dangerous predators and, along with a few other horses, gave a serious fight to the coyotes, forcing them to abandon their plan and retreat into the forest. However, the little frightened foal had run too far and hid somewhere, while the terrified mother could not find her baby. Desperate, Alice unsuccessfully tried to find her little one all evening and then the following morning. But the little foal seemed to have vanished without a trace. All that was left was to hope that the young one had not become prey to the predators and could find its way back to the herd. At the same time, the foal had run too far, escaping from the hungry predators, and did not know how to find its mother now. The clever little one hid in the bushes at night to avoid becoming someone's prey, and in the morning, it continued searching for the herd until it finally found itself on a road that crossed the entire field and stretched endlessly in both directions. Fortunately for the confused foal, very few cars were moving along the road, otherwise, it would have risked being killed under the wheels of a speeding vehicle. The young one chose a direction that it thought would lead to its mother and trotted along the road next to the metal fence that ran the entire length of the road. Several hours passed. Most drivers passed by the foal, trying not to hit the animal that was moving chaotically on the road. Fortunately for the young one, it did not become a victim of reckless drivers, and one driver did notice the lonely foal and felt that it needed help. The driver got out of the car, wondering what to do with the foal, but the young one got scared and ran along the metal fence again. Then the man, unwilling to give up, got back in the car and slowly followed the foal to avoid scaring it even more. About an hour later, the driver noticed a herd of grazing horses nearby in the field and thought that perhaps one of them was the mother of the lost foal. The man stopped to see what would happen next. As he had suspected, one of the horses separated from the herd and headed toward the road as soon as she saw the frightened foal on it. Of course, it was Alice. The foal, which immediately recognized its mother, rushed toward her. However, a metal fence separated the reunited pair, which was not so easy to overcome. The foal tried to jump over the last obstacle, but it was still too small and weak, and it did not succeed. Seeing this difficult situation, the driver realized that now only he could help the mother horse and her beloved baby reunite. But there was one big problem. It was dangerous to approach the foal, as Alice might perceive it as a threat and attack the man. After all, even though the foal could not jump over the fence, an enraged adult horse would likely do so without much effort and simply trample the man. Therefore, approaching the young one, despite the strong desire to help, was quite a risky venture. The driver watched the confused pair for a while, then finally took a huge risk and approached the foal. The frightened baby initially ran away, but the determined man was resolved to see this through to the end. His friend did not dare to get out of the car, saying that he would film everything happening with his phone. The timid friend managed to capture the moment when the brave driver finally caught up with the foal and lifted it high above the ground to return it to the suffering horse. Fortunately, Alice understood the kind man's intentions correctly and patiently waited on the other side of the fence. On the first attempt, the foal's hooves got caught in the fence. Then the driver made one more decisive effort and carried the baby into the field over the fence.